On Harper Lee and her classic novel, To Kill a Mockingbird. Harper Lee, born Nell Harper Lee, was born on 28 April 1926 in Monroeville, Alabama, to Amasa Coleman Lee and Frances Cunningham. She was the fourth and youngest child of Amasa and Frances, and her first name Nell was her grandmother's name spelled backward. Her father was a newspaper editor, politician, and lawyer, who served in the Alabama state legislature from 1926 to 1938. At a very young age, Harper met and befriended a boy named Truman Capote, who would go on to become her lifelong friend and one of the most well-known and influential writers of his generation. It was while studying at Monroe County High School that Harper became interested in English literature and began reading books. In 1945, Harper Lee, aged 19, enrolled at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa to study law. Her father was excited to see her study law and hoped that she would follow in her older sister Alice's footsteps by joining his legal practice. While at the university, Harper began writing for the university's newspaper The Crimson White, and for the humor magazine Rammer Jammer. However, Harper left her law studies one semester short of completing it, much to her father's disappointment. By the late 1940s, Harper Lee had begun writing short stories but had not yet attempted a novel. In 1949, after having decided to take writing more seriously, she followed the path of her best friend Capote and moved to New York in the hope of becoming a writer. Upon arriving in New York, she first began working at a bookstore before taking up a job as a reservation clerk for the British Overseas Airways Corporation. While working there, she wrote essays and short stories about the people of Monroeville and even managed to get some of them published. In late 1956, after almost 7 years of moving to New York, Harper found a literary agent named Maurice Crane on Capote's recommendation. Knowing her passion for writing and her desire to become a writer, her friends gifted her a year's worth of wages to take a year off from her job to write. This was exactly the opportunity Harper had been looking for, and she threw herself into writing her first novel. In the spring of 1957, Harper Lee, aged 31, submitted the manuscript of her first novel, Go Set a Watchman, to her agent to send it out to publishers. The manuscript was read by editor Tay Hohoff of J.B. Lippincott and Company. Hohoff was impressed by the draft and convinced her publishing house to buy it. However, even though Hohoff loved the writing and the intent of the novel, she did not think it was ready for publication, as it was then more like a series of anecdotes than a fully conceived novel. Over the course of the next 3 years, Hohoff guided Harper through rewriting and editing the draft again and again until it was finally ready to be published. The process of working on the drafts during those 3 years was chaotic, frustrating, and slow as they encountered several difficulties. Although their collaborative effort turned out to be immensely fruitful in the end, it also proved to be quite taxing and frustrating at the time. On one occasion, Harper grew so frustrated with the progress of the novel that she threw the manuscript out of her window into the snow, and then, crying, called Hohoff and told her what she had done. Hohoff instructed her to go out and pick up the manuscript immediately. After the novel achieved its finished form, it was retitled To Kill a Mockingbird and published on 11 July 1960, when Harper was 34 years old. Neither Harper nor the publishing house thought the novel would sell many copies or achieve commercial success. A few years later, Harper Lee would admit that she never expected the novel to have any kind of success at all, critical or commercial. In fact, she was hoping for a quick and merciful death at the hands of the critics. All she hoped for was to receive some kind of public encouragement from someone to enable her to continue writing. But Harper got more than she had hoped for. Upon its publication, To Kill a Mockingbird became an instant bestseller and received great critical acclaim from critics and readers alike. It is the story of a 6-year-old girl named Jean Louise Finch, nicknamed Scout, who as an adult narrates her childhood between 1933 to 1935, during the period of the Great Depression. The central theme of the novel primarily deals with the issues of rape, racial injustice, and inequality in the South. To Kill a Mockingbird became an instant classic of modern American literature, winning the 1961 Pulitzer Prize while in its 41st week on the bestseller list. The novel's success made Harper famous and she went on a long publicity tour, giving interviews and talks, visiting schools, and attending events honoring the novel. By 1964, she was so frustrated and fed up with all the attention that she began turning down invitations for interviews, talks, and events. She was tired of the same questions and the intense attention on her private life. Being a somewhat shy and private person by nature, she detested her fame. Over the years, the novel has remained a bestseller and has become required reading in schools across the United States. It is widely regarded as one of the greatest and most influential novels of the 20th century and the most widely read book dealing with race, class, courage, gender roles, and compassion in America. The novel is so acclaimed and popular that in 2006 British librarians ranked it above the Bible as a book every adult must read before they die. On the morning of 19th of February 2016, Harper Lee, aged 89, died in her sleep in her hometown of Monroeville, Alabama. To Kill a Mockingbird was her first and only proper novel. In July 2015, an earlier draft of To Kill a Mockingbird was published as Go Set a Watchman, which is set some 20 years after the time period depicted in To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird still remains a bestseller to this very day, with over 40 million copies in print. In 1999, it was voted the best novel of the century in a poll by the Library Journal. Rest assured, even with just a single novel, Harper Lee has left an indelible mark on American and world literature.